kind of all of it? Okay. Well, the first part is find the domain of log base 2 of x minus 6. How do I find domains of logarithms? Take the argument, make it greater than 0. So x minus 6 is greater than 0. I add 6 to both sides, I get x is greater than 6. That's my domain. How do I write that in interval notation?
X such that X is, I'm just kidding.
6 infinity and with what? Parentheses on both sides. Infinity always gets parentheses. The 6 is not included, so it gets a parenthesis.
Wait, so did we go over that last?
Yeah, we did.
I don't remember either.
It's the domain rules, right? The 5 rules? Is it a log?
It's the third rule in there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, we did that on
Friday.
Friday. Toward the end. What's the next one?
I'm late, but I'm not behind.
Range. Domain and range are related in functions and their inverses, right? So the reason we're able to just spit out a range for this is because we know it came from an exponential function, that was its inverse. And when we did our domains of inverse functions, we went through our 5 questions and said, was there a denominator? No. Was there a square root or even root? No. Was there a log or natural log in it? I'm not talking about this one, I'm talking about the exponential function. No. At that time, we had not gotten our exponential functions in any way other than just hope they were there, so no inverse was involved and there were no real world problems. When I answered no to all 5 of those, I got that the domain of every exponential function was all real numbers. That means because all logarithmic functions come from being inverses of one of those exponential functions, the range of every logarithmic function is going to be all real numbers. Every time. And if you had to explain this, you would say because it's the inverse of an exponential function whose domain was all real numbers. The domain and the range of the inverse.
It's the inverse of what?
An exponential function.
Whose domain is
Well,
all
and
real?
whose domain we determined to be all real numbers by going no, 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 no. But that was sufficient. X-intercepts. How do I find x-intercepts?
Set the X minus 6 equal to 0?
Nope.
No?
How do I find x-intercepts in general?
Oh, 0.
Put 0 in for y. Works here. I put in 0 for y. 0 equals log base 2 of x minus 6. How do I solve this? Change to exponential form, which will turn out to be 2 to the 0 equals x minus 6. Anything raised to the 0 is
1.
1. So 1 equals x minus 6. That means 7 equals x. So my x-intercept is 7, 0.
How did you get that?
How do you find the virtual?
I'll get there. Now, when we looked at our basic logarithmic function, it had a vertical asymptote because what did they look like? What do our basic logarithmic
Log
functions
2.
look like?
How did you get 2 to 0?
Anybody can tell me?
That's what the definition of log means. Two to that power equals
No,
whatever you take.
that's an exponential.
So, she can move out.
Where do
the
my basic
base,
logarithmic functions go?
base out, and put it in the
No,
front
you're
with the
gonna go
0.
right. Yeah, that one.
That's what log
Like
means.
this. You guys all have to go in this
Log,
way.
log
I'm like,
base
no,
2
they're
x minus
complicated
6.
enough. These are complicated down.
The power you have to raise 2 to.
Every one of these never crossed over the y-axis.
Choose root of.
The y-axis was its vertical asymptote. How do I indicate the y-axis
I'll
as a
figure it
vertical
out.
asymptote? X equals 6, x equals 0, right? Now, what happens when I move my functions left or right?
Transfers.
the vertical asymptote is gonna move left or right, just like my function did. So going back to this function, bless you, which way did this function go? Right, how far? 6. So that means my vertical asymptote is gonna have to also go, how far?
6.
6 right. So it will be x equals 6. And if you have to explain it, you can say exactly what I just said, except much shorter, and the original one was x equals 0. The function is moved 6 to the right, so the new one is moved 6 to the right and is x equals 6. Or left, or whichever direction you have to move it. But it just moves back and forth. It's not like our rational functions where there was a, here's how you always find the vertical asymptote formula, and you had to do some calculations. There's no calculation here other than determining how your function gets moved left or right. What happens if your function gets moved up or down? Does that change your vertical asymptote? No. Just left or right movement is gonna mess it up. Move it around.
Mine's not accepting my answer
Why, what answer?
of
Vertical asymptote.
vertical asymptote.
Did you write in x equals?
Yes.